Salman, kazme, you're my NDIS provider. I've got a request of you. Remove me from this torture chamber and put me somewhere safe out of reach of authorities. You've known I've been tortured and you know what's going on. Everyone knows what's going on. If I had killed myself last night from the profound neglect, abuse, conspiracy, setup and deceit of this whole goddamn thing, there would be liable people for the murder, and it wouldn't have been on my head. I'm not going to kill myself. You're dreaming. I've already done that in 2021 when this same deceit, lies, and this audacity of being right but not coming up to the front and actually having a conversation with me, and I just wish someone would have an honest conversation with me. I've been honest basically my whole life. And let me tell you a few things. I'm going to forgive everyone who is in on this. That means Debbie Morgan. That means police. That means IBAC. That means the Prime Minister. That means the Attorney General, Steve Icenides, Tim Goss, Liz Linsberg, all the NDIS providers. You're all forgiven, but there must be an acknowledgement that you've done me the harm and you've fucked me over. Now look, I have just been delegitimised as a citizen of this country, and I'll tell you how. Or not just, it's been happening for a long time. The same kind of hallucinations and voices that I was hearing back in my very early young days, which informed Recovered Not Cured, are exactly the same type that's happening now. But in the meantime, I've done a lot of growing up. And I've done a lot of study too. And I have a PhD in quantum intelligence, post-humanism, framed by the Anthropocene. And this is the end of the human age. Now, there's a lot of information I'm going to probably say, but I'm just going to try and be simple about it. Where will I even start this? So, if you're going to accuse me of something, have the courage of your convictions, come up to me, to my face, and have a conversation. If you want to arrest me with something, then arrest me. But don't just play guilt trips on people for untested things in the court and then use that as a methodology to try and deceive you from every other thing you're doing in your life. My detriment and the deceit and the manipulation of politics and the legal spectrum and of law enforcement has gone on since my book, Recovered Not Cured, was published in 2002, I think it was, 3, and I was humiliated by the Herald Sun and I was fired from the Age. Obviously, the way I spoke the truth or the things that were in my book were too bit of a hot spot for some powerful media moguls who decided to identify and target me right then and there. And that was the beginning of the first detriment, my illegal firing from the Age for discrimination and for my newfound thing with the book. And I just never got a settlement. Now this pattern of not having a settlement has occurred to me over and over again all of my life, and I've worked hard. I've worked as an artist. I've worked for 30 years helping other people in this country, marginalised people and their carers, mostly for altruism, out of the goodness of my heart, because that's who I am. When I've even got only just a little, I help people up. And what I see in the world is that most people are part of the bureaucracy and they don't help people up. At some point in my past, I got targeted. And that means that I've got a big target on my head and I'm not seen the same. I don't have the equality, the equity and the fairness that other normal people have. Hell, I don't even have income. How's that for one? I did have a disability pension, but the government and NCAT, in all their wisdom, when I simply wanted a lawyer, was to appoint the guardianship because I can't look after myself. Hello, I'm the center of a fucking conspiracy that's trying to kill me and already has in February 2021. There's a criminal liability to that, by the way, the hospital and also the people who manipulated my life in order to lead me to that. Steve Isonides, there's what was that law? Was that Russell Ball? There was Dr. Whitaker. There was all the mental health nurses. There was the non-response from the university. There was all this shit going on that went to that dreadful day, and it was a tragedy. It was my tragedy, and it got whitewashed. You can't die in a hospital. It was a fatal injury, the Freedom of Information said. That's how I know that it's not me who has the malice here, because you know what? I love people, and I love all of you, and me and cops have the same perspective about wanting civility, wanting peace, wanting no crime, all that kind of stuff. I'm down with you. Good on you, cops. The thing I can't understand is when someone gives their permission to the government in order to work for them, and then they get paid by the government, and that prevents them from ever critiquing the powers that be. So the same powers that pay them to stitch me up is the same powers that identify me and are targeting me as basically human sacrifice. It's that bad. If I had killed myself last night, the Guardian, the public Guardian, would be rolled over. Like, a lot of people would be rolled over. AFCA would be rolled over, where I'm banned from getting financial acknowledgements or determinations done. The Ombudsman will be bummed over for not accepting any future correspondence. The National Anti-Corruption Commission, they would be fucked over because they've just never even acknowledged my complaint. The Australian Human Rights Commission and Liz Linsberg, when she free-kicked $1 million deal to the opposition, and it's right there on YouTube. Now, there's another really fucking pearl of thing going on here, and that is with the corrupt NDIS. The NDIS is supposed to care for disabled people. I am a person with a disability, right? And I just want to say quickly, there's one of 4 ways that these voices, rapists, faggots, schizo, we're going to fucking hate you, do you want to die, kill yourself, all that kind of stuff. There's 4 ways you can get into my head. And that is, 1, a hallucination. I've got an illness, I hear voices, that is a fact. The second way is actual people gang stalking me outside. Paid contractors to come up, harass me, break into my car, to take my things, blah, 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 blah. There's real people doing it. The third way is by the Frey effect as a targeted individual, which is actually an AI modulated thing linked to a person's biochemistry and their DNA, and it links into that resonance wherever the person might be, and it becomes bioluminous. So your body and your brain becomes bioluminous, and it's informed by the AI, which is informed by information. It's the same information that the police have, and it's the same information that the government has, who've targeted me. Henceforth, the hallucinations I hear are quite in the similar vein. Now, there's another way. What was it? I can't remember the last one. It was really important too. So I'm trying to get a lot out. But anyway, if I had died, it would have been culpable for murder. And there is culpability for intending to murder me and sacrifice me right now. The Guardian will be done over, AFCA, all these places will be done over. That's right, there's another pearl of it to the story. The corrupt NDIS. They're supposed to care for people with disabilities. I have one. I'm unable to work, not because I'm incapable, but because of the conspiracy which has blocked all my money, and the last beguiling place to even exist for me is the NDIS, where they lock up all my funds, and then they pay the providers, but they do this. They word them up to keep me entrapped in poverty, because that's the aim of the game. Keep rich broke, harm him, cause him detriment, deconstruct his life any way we can, just as long as you make him broke and as long as you make him suffer. That's the whole concept behind targeted individuals. And the NDIS have been a real pearler at it. And I can't name the NDIS minister, but I think we all know who he is, otherwise I'll go to jail. So Basically, he, along with Free Living Australia and the hospital system and the police and corrupt legal aid and the corrupt magistrates court, created a situation, and this is how this thing works. Situations are created. For example, the situation was created for me to write Recovered Not Cured. The situation was created for me to not be persecuted for a while I was with Steve Isonides, the ASIO agent, because, we'll give you that one just for the time being. We'll always hold one over you though. And then there's other conditions that were created, like the conditions of my suicide. They were deliberately made. And then the whole betrayal of that afterwards, the cover-up of it, was just absolutely absurd. It's as if I hadn't realised everyone in the world was already in on the thing that I should die. And not a tear was shed when I died. So, and the thing is, I understand people because I've studied psychology, because I've got a PhD, I'm clever, I'm very sensitive, and I can read people well. And I understand why my whole family's betrayed me. I understand why it is when you're in a bureaucracy getting bribed, black money, by the government, that you'll toe the party line. For example, all people, just about, are opposed to me. I'm opposed by police. I'm opposed, who I haven't been able to report a single crime to in all my life. I'm opposed by all lawyers because of a manipulation of the legal fraternity, because I was a targeted individual and I was psychometrically profiled by the government. Now, there's all politicians. I've emailed all of them and none of them has come forward to assist me. Now, they get a tap on the shoulder and they say, don't worry, this agent whatever is taking care of it. And they're part of the bureaucracy. Now, bureaucracies, religion, sporting clubs, politics, all that kind of stuff is problematic because, lo and behold, people in the world don't want war. They don't want to see blood. They just want to see my blood. But most people just want peace. They want to make love. They want to have babies. They want to do whatever they want. They want to eat food and they want a nice life. That's what most people are like, and I believe that. And if I went up to a person in the street and they hadn't had the information from the government, they'd be fine to me. They'd actually say, oh, he's a reasonable, smart and pleasant guy, we'd be friends. But the problem with the bureaucracy is that this information, which is collected and then it's twisted and manipulated, and the systems, the legal systems, the ombudsmans, the National Anti-Corruption Commissioners, all the police, all politicians, they're all tweaked a little bit just to say, well, too hard basket, we just put that in the mental health basket. And that's probably why I've ended up with the NDIS. But the minister's created a situation where he's forced my exile. Now, there's no NDIS worker that can legitimately come and help me without doing two things. One is that I'm a rejected whistleblower and I'm unprotected under the PID Act, and that's the reason why I'm targeted. That's a really big one. My whole life is a political reprisal, for being honest. And it was my obligation to democracy and humanity to call out those things. And the irony is, the people I'm protecting, which is not only me, but every other human being, are the ones that have now part of the bureaucracies and the stigma and the shame and the prejudice that have now turned on me. So I've got a real pickle of a problem. In 2022, after I survived the suicide attempt and was revived from certain death, and it was whitewashed, I was forced into homelessness, into squatting, because I was never paid my work cover. I used to be an allied health professional and NDIS arts therapist for the NDIS, so I know exactly how it works. And they forced, I had a psychological injury from a thing linked to my own sexual abuse, which was never acknowledged by anyone, by VOCAT, by my family, by anyone. And on the day that I killed myself, my abuser dropped dead. And 2 days later, while they're pumping me back up with blood after I severed an artery and bled out on the floor, my family went to his funeral, which was the hugest betrayal for me. But anyway, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. But I was just saying out these big things. So the NDIS, someone came to me, and I believe that they knew who I was before they came to meet me by chance. And it was a shag, and his name was Tony Riddle. Now, Tony Riddle came to me, and we hung out, we got high, we did drugs, and we fucked. And because I don't know what's real and what's not, because of the deception of humanity, and I don't really know if people are tricking me or not, I recorded the whole fucking thing and published it to YouTube. Now, in that email, he identifies to me that he's a targeted individual, and he knows I am because we had a conversation about it. And he said to me that the NDIS and the government see people like me as a sacrificial lamb. That means, in layman's terms, they'll silence you whatever means it takes, even murder. And this brings me to the present situation with what Tony revealed to me in that conversation, which was he acknowledged to me and revealed that there is $6 billion, not million, $1 billion of misappropriated funds that's gone through the NDIS, and senior ministers and politicians know about it. Now, this is an egregious political, it's just a farce. It's just out of this world. And he admitted it to me, and I know it's legitimate because he tried to make me settle for publishing our shag, which was really quite unethical of me, but it was unethical of him, and I was trying to save him too. But anyway, it was published, and I just got an email message on my website, barondodger.com.au, where I protest this shit, and it said, "Will you settle for $400,000?" And I went, fuck yeah, I'm literally starving. I've been a beggar for years, since that suicide attempt, and it was whitewashed. And then I was forced to live in my car for a whole month as a participant of the NDIS. And the NDIS avoid accountability. They won't take accountability for my work cover, for my former partner, and the marriage settlement he owes me. And my whistleblowing caused him $1 million damage or embezzlement. So he's threatened to kill me and my dog. He won't have to because the government's doing it for him. Now, what happened was I got offered $400,000 settlement to shut up, and I said, yes, okay, I'll take it. And then they said, I'm sorry, it hasn't come through. It was our error. What that means is that someone with more than $400,000 has bought them out. And that's the fee for a very powerful person or group of people who are hoping to keep me silenced and hoping to keep me shut up. Now, I've suddenly realised something. The $6 billion in misappropriated funds is linked to Tony Riddle's thing, and it's linked to the unnamed NDIS minister's effort to try and intentionally take me out here to Sydney, all around and into hospital and put over cops and all the rest. But it's an intentional, conscious thing to isolate me and in order to do me more damage. And that's linked to the V2K, to the voices in the room, and the cameras in the fridge. There's cameras in the fridge here. So I'm under investigation 24 hours a day because there's a budget for me. Out of that $6 billion, which keeps me silenced, and they benefit from keeping that corrupt money, they have a budget which is a smidgen of $6 billion, and it's millions, and it's causing me real headaches. It's targeted me, I'm followed, and it's called gang stalking. Gang stalking is when you've got, if you've got one stalker, it's really bad. If it's a whole bunch of people stalking you, then it gets really bad. And it's a malicious and snide and deceitful and cowardly way to intimidate and harass someone. Now, I say to all cops and all the people who have been in my room and baiting me I'm a pedophile and a rapist and extortionist and a terrorist and all that kind of stuff, you know what? It's a real shame that you don't have the courage of your convictions to show up, front up, and say, blah, blah, blah. I do it to the world. I do it to the world all the time. I'm a true speaker and seeker, and that's why the world doesn't like me, because I don't have an allegiance to the government that murdered me. Yes, that's right. The government murdered me and then revived, and then I was forsaken in society and excommunicated from the government and excommunicated from my family and excommunicated from society in general, and I went to live in the park in my car. It's been a real hard road for me, and I'm not broken yet. I want to say to you all, you haven't broken me. I'm resolved with this. I'm not going to kill myself, even though you might try and manipulate my own hand into doing it for you. The only thing I'm worried about is if these gang stalkers of the splice of the $6 billion who have me under surveillance 24 hours a day and follow me everywhere I go, they enlist the police, they enlist all lawyers, they enlist all politicians, and they enlist all family members. Everyone's been bought off in a way by getting advantageous things happen to them if they side with the oppressors. And the oppressors are the corrupt, rich people. And they're breaking the law. People say I break the law. I barely break the law. I'm a really honest and ethical person. I mean no harm. And if I have harmed anyone, Debbie Morgan or the police or fucking my mum or anyone, I'm really sorry. It's never been my intention to harm people, and I'm sorry if I've harmed you. And I think I've said that through and through. But I don't see anyone out there who's sorry for the harm that's been caused to me and the harm that I'm going through right now. I've got not even a cigarette. If I died today out of a profound abuse and neglect and a toxic targeting, which is literally a human sacrifice everyone's on board with, that's what's happening for me. So back to Sam at the start of this letter. Sam, you're my NDIS provider, and I know you say you love me. I love you too, mate. But the thing is, you can't love someone and accept that I'm even entrapped to the NDIS for the reason of not acknowledging my other political problems. And the other thing is, you can't keep me abused, neglected, and tortured in the shell of a torture chamber that is a home. A home is somewhere where, friends and family meets, where you have your stuff. I don't have stuff. I don't have friends and family. They've forsaken me. But I still love them all, and I think of them all the time. And the thing is, Sam, you have to move me today from this place, and the authorities will find me wherever I go. But there's some practical stuff. There's no backyard for Crystal. It's been very cruel to keep her in here for 3 or 4 months without a backyard, and I have to take her out 10 times a day. Aligned Community Care and the hospital and the police were all part of a stitch-up in order to deliver me here, because I don't have any choice. There's no choice and control NDIS about my life. I just get dumped where they want to put me. And I signed the lease under duress because I was incarcerated in a psychiatric ward as a political prisoner. So there you go. So I'm just here, and I want my justice, and you must help me fight for that. The NDIS SILS accommodation that was rejected, even though there's 2 professional recommendations, and Cal Graham at the NDIS blacklisted it and said there's no change to your application, even before the documents are dry from the OT and the behavioural specialist. That's not okay. That's bullshit. And I want my SILS application, and I want my justice, and I will get it. And me even existing is a slap in the face to all the covert, deceitful, and hidden people who have attacked me via proxy and made corrupt decisions in their professional roles as public officials and politicians. Because we all know that, well, most of us don't know, most of us are blind, but people love authority. They give their permission to it, and they accept it, and they think the authorities are right. And there was a study done that even if authorities told someone to harm someone else, if the authority was the one in rule, they'd do it. And this is part of the psychology behind my scapegoating, my targeting, and my heinous abuse, and the horrible detriment and the legal injustice and the human rights abuses that have happened to me for a long time. So Sam, Crystal and I demand to be moved to a new place. I want to say, I don't wish harm on anyone, not even those who were trying to attempt to murder me by deceit, by manipulation, by not showing up, by not showing their face, by twisting things in other areas of my life and I really don't even know where my next enemy is coming from. And that's the other thing, because there's covert agents been following me. The last place I was at, someone said a covert agent was nearby, threatened Crystal, and then intimidated me out of the house by saying something about the V2K, and they knew the login name for my Wikipedia page. And I'd uploaded whistleblowing documents to the Wikipedia page, and he also knew in forward time the name of the person who would then delete my profile. So these are very powerful and intimidating, hugely wealthy and influential people who I've opposed against. They're here. So, and because I'm such a scapegoat and my YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff, I'm a target. There are splinter vigilante groups out there who want to kill me, and I've had those threats. And the police, I can't report that to the police, and the police would look the other way if someone was going to murder me, and that's how they contract the killing out. And, you know, there's a thing that I already know: if I die, no one will shed a tear. Why? I'm a drugger, a schizo, a rapist, a faggot, a bloody extortionist, you know? And that's where the information comes from the top. So the whole government's kind of corrupt in this. For me, most people not. So I don't have an allegiance to the government that killed me, but I do have an allegiance to God. And God and me are like this. And I've professed my sins, and I'm truly sorry, you know, for anything that I've done to everyone. He knows that. And I'm at peace with myself. And I hope you can see by my tone, by my approach, by my rhythm, by the way I'm speaking, that that is indeed the case. And if anyone has a problem with me, please just tell it to me. Don't snidely do it in another deceptive way and hold it over you for 30 years. It's not very brave, and it's not very courageous. What is brave and courageous is the person who's doing the speaking, me, who's tried to find their way through this incredible turmoil, this incredible conspiracy to pervert the course of justice, which is the betrayal of the humanity and the democracy that I worked for 30 years in altruism to better. So, Sam, I'm not safe here. I'm unsafe and I need to be moved to a new place. I would prefer a place with a yard for Crystal. If there's no money in my plan, which there's not, which has been the plan from the NDIS from the start to make me homeless again, then do an urgent plan review and take it to the top. Like, I've got a case of the AAT coming up, and that's already cooked, but they've actually given me a lawyer. Now, the public guardian's supposed to give me a lawyer, and they haven't. But look, I'm just going to have to hope that they do, and I hope that someone sees out there this story, and I hope someone can say, you know what, he's had a gutful, it's unfair, it's cruel, and it's unjust, and I'm going to be on his side. And seriously, there's two sides to this story. There's me and the dog, and then there's the rest of the world. And I've yet to find anyone who will comfortably even just sit on my side of the fence and say, I acknowledge this is happening to you. And if you can be that person, I would love to hear from you. I don't expect you to agree with everything I've done. I don't expect me to agree with anything you think. But if you can just sit there and have a conversation with me and listen, have a cup of tea, a pipe, a beer, whatever you want, and that we can just acknowledge each other's presence and say, I hear you. You know, I hear all of you. I hear it from the voices in my head, in the car, on the radio. I hear it from the betrayal of my family. I hear it from the silence from politicians. That's another voice, the silence, the no voice. And I hear all of you very loud and clear, and I know you because I understand all you're all doing is being self-preserving. And that's what nature is. Whether you're a dolphin or a sea sponge or an urchin, all you're trying to do is self-preserve so you can go on and reproduce, and that's what nature is. And people can see what the government's done to me, destroyed me and covered it up, and there's gang stalkers out there now. And people can see, and people think, well, I'm not as brave and courageous and clever as Rich, I haven't got a PhD, and people have to cut the tall poppy down, and they think if they can do it to me, you do it to him, they'll do it to me. And that makes a really strange thing where people feel like they're less brave and they're less achieved. Maybe they're jealous, I don't really know, but I'm not stupid, and people, if they can do it to him, they can do it to me, and people fall into line, you know. But anyway, I forgot what I was saying. It's been a long night. I've been gang stalked, harassed. I cracked the shits and I went straight up to the door and I went out and said, fucking show your face. I said, come on, fuck, you haven't hurt me enough yet, you fucking cowards. Come and show your face. And I fucking lost it. And then I went back inside and lo and behold, the voices are back in the top of the room. But anyway, they're persistent. And you know what? I'm persistent because I've got something in me and it's something that you all want. And it's this this indistinguishable, can't put it out spark, and I've got it in me, and I believe it's in everyone else too. It's the Christ consciousness, it's the honestness, it's the justice, it's the peace, the compassion, the redemption, the forgiveness. That is the spark that I have left. It's all I've got, me and God. So I believe in that. I either am it or I aspire to that. And I think when I do this speech, I'm appealing to that spark in you to try and get past the bureaucracies we're all involved in. Man-made law is going to fall. Spirit law is the only one that's going to last. And that's my little speech, so I've only got the 30 minutes. I'm a targeted individual of the Australian government, and I don't have income. I just don't. I've been decommissioned. I've been excommunicated. I've been erased from Australian society for speaking the truth. And I hope that people can stick up for me. I'll put my POD down below. And I'm in Sadbear in New South Wales, if anyone can make it. Or I've got a cheap car that I can go and see you in. Okay, my old name is Rich McLean, Dr. Rich McLean, and I'm now Baron Dodger after I was revived. Thanks for listening to my little talk. Okay, if you've got something to say, say it. Don't be a coward. Okay, see ya.